Here are some other practices you can try if you feel that mindfulness of breathing is not a good practice for you. The first is body scan. In this style of practice, you begin by placing your attention anywhere in your head. It could be the top of your head or any place you choose. And you keep your attention there as long as you wish, at least for a few breaths or longer. You may or may not feel any sensations there. If so, you could use mental noting. And then when you're ready, you slowly shift your attention down, either further in the head or even further down to the neck. You just pick what increments you want to move. And we step by step move or scan, sweep your attention from head through the neck, shoulders, torso, hips, legs, all the way to the feet, step by step. Again, staying at each place at least for a few breaths, as long as you wish, and then beginning again, coming back to the head, and so on. When you get to the area of the shoulders or the torso, if you wish, you could move your attention through one or both of the arms. A variation of body scan is called touch points. And in this kind of practice, it's the same as body scan, but you narrow down to only 3 or 4 spots in the body that you rotate your attention through. For example, you could pick your lips touching. You could use mental noting if you wish, touching, or pressure. If your hands are folded together in your lap, you could use the feeling of your hands touching, or if your hands are on your thighs or knees, or perhaps if you're in a chair and your arms, forearms or hands are resting on the arms of the chair, you could use that. Maybe the feeling of your feet touching the floor if you're in a chair, or your bottom pressing on the cushion or the bottom of the chair as you sit. And then move your attention systematically through these 3 or 4 spots, again, using mental noting if you wish. Another kind of meditation is mindfulness of sound. In this style of practice, rather than the breath being the primary object, sound becomes the object. It could be outer sounds, if there are any sounds where you are meditating. And you could use a mental noting, hearing, or sound. Some people hear an inner sound, such as a ringing. So you can check out and see how that is for you. Another style of practice is mantra meditation. You pick a single word or a phrase, a simple phrase, nothing complicated, 3 or 4 words, that you repeat mentally over and over. That becomes the whole practice. The words may or may not have any meaning as you choose. Some people will pick a word that does have meaning, such as repeating the name of the Buddha. You'll hear people use Buddha or Buddho. So that would be an example, but you choose any word or phrase that you wish and repeat that over and over. That's not a good practice for many people, but if mantra is a good practice for you, it can be very concentrating. So you can spend some time to give it a try. Another practice is metta, loving kindness meditation. Metta meditation is practiced in several different ways that you can try out. A common way is as a mantra practice. You pick a phrase of loving kindness, something simple, not too complicated. For example, may all beings be happy. Or, may all beings be peaceful. May all beings be at ease. Or, may all beings be free from suffering. Pick one of those. Could be a couple of them, but you don't want to get too long or complex of a series of phrases. Keep it simple. And you just repeat those mentally over and over. It is a mantra practice. The words have meaning, and so the feeling or the sense of the words may bring up a feeling of metta. And if so, you could continue with the mantra, letting the feeling of love, the feeling of metta be there. Or you could switch your attention so that the object now is, rather than the mantra, the object is the feeling of metta itself, allowing the mantra to be there if you want as a mental noting practice. You could also switch the emphasis so that the feeling of radiating metta, not just the feeling of metta being there, but there is a process of radiating or sending metta out, either to individuals, to yourself, to situations, or in general out into the world. And that feeling or process is the practice. Another way that metta is taught is that process or feeling of radiating metta is the practice even from the beginning. You may never use mantra at all. Just go directly to radiating out metta as the practice. You may want to use some other experience or feeling first to help bring up a good feeling in your mind and in your heart before you switch to the feeling of radiating metta. You may bring to mind a particular person or a pet or some situation. It could be a place, maybe in nature, that you like to go, a kind of music or poetry or art, anything that puts your mind in a good, open, pleasant place. And then once that feeling is there, you then go to the feeling as the practice and then a sense of radiating it out. If you're doing the radiating metta style of practice, you can let the words, the phrases be there also to help you in any way you wish. So here are a few common kinds of practice that you can experiment with and see which ones you may be drawn to.